Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my first impressions look on the Li-ning Liren 4 V2 low, right? So I've seen it say Liren 4 V2 and also Liren 4 V2 low, but either way, you know, this is the low version and also the second version of the regular Liren 4, which was an amazing shoe. This shoe is one of my favorite hoop shoes to hoop in because it's just so dang nice, especially the cushioning setup. So as far as the price goes, it's weird, you know, I did get it from Kick's Own, so shout out to Kick's Own. But yeah, Kick's Own, they have different prices for different colorways, which is, you know, I feel like that's what they do in China maybe. But as far as like the overall colorways go, the average price I saw was around like 180 to like 210 bucks, you know. So that was the case for the V2 and also the regular Liren 4. So if you guys do want to cop, I try to leave a link in the description box. But there are some differences, right? I thought it was going to be pretty much the same exact shoe, but just a low cut for the V2. But there are a couple of differences which we'll go over. But let's get it started right off with the traction. So as far as the traction pattern goes, it looks to be the exact same as the regular Liren 4. You know, so we have this herringbone traction pattern, which is very, very nice. I had a very good stop here in the regular Liren 4, but it did pick up a little bit of dust, probably because the grooves are very close together, right? So I have a translucent rubber, right, for this colorway, and a lot of the colorways of the V2 that I saw were translucent as well. So we'll have to see on how the translucent rubber performs, like how is a rubber compound on dust and also on clean court. But just trying it on my wood floors, it actually didn't feel that good. It didn't seem to have an amazing bite. I mean, it did have a little bit of a bite, but it wasn't stopping as hard as the regular Liren 4, which is kind of a bummer. So obviously we'll have to see on how it actually performs on a basketball court. But right now, for my first impressions on my wood floors, didn't seem amazing. And for durability, it does seem like it'll be very good. You know, you have very hard rubber, you have a lot of grooves as well. The grooves are deep, so you should be fine on the outdoor court for the outsole. And also the V2 doesn't really squeak all too much. I mean, the Liren 4, the regular version, wasn't super loud either, but it did have a little bit of a squeak. But with this, the translucent rubber, it doesn't really squeak that much. So anyways, there is the outsole there. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, it feels extremely smooth, and that's also another thing that I loved about the regular Liren 4. So here in the heel, we got a nice like curve shape, a little bit of a curve shape, and we do have a caged midsole, but it's not super stiff. You know, there's a little bit of compression from the actual like midsole. Even though it is caged, there's a little bit of give to it. So it feels pretty smooth here in the heel, and then coming here to the forefoot, we can see this crazy rocker shape, which allows you to like really go into the forefoot, right? So you put a little bit of weight here into the tip of the toe, kind of rocks you forward. So from the actual shape, it's very, very smooth. It's kind of like a rocking chair, you know? But also, nothing that I loved about the regular Liren 4 was that it was very springy, right? And we can actually see the kind of like, it's not full length, right, for the plate, but it's like 3/4, and it's kind of like this forked shape here in the forefoot. And they're calling it the Pro Bar Lock, which is kind of like for torsion support, of course. But yeah, it's just this plastic, you know, it's not carbon fiber or anything, but then it does extend into the forefoot a lot. Look at that, right? So because of that, you know, it's still pretty flexible, but it's not super easy to flex, and there is a good amount of tension to it, right? And then you have a nice bit of springiness to it as well. Same thing here in the regular Liren 4, but like when I feel it, the Liren 4, the regular version, does feel like a little bit more tension. There seems to be a little bit more tension in it, and then the V2, not as much, but it does still feel pretty springy. So yeah, we'll have to see on how it compares as far as the heel to toe transition goes, but here in the V2, it does feel pretty dang nice. Now moving on to the cushioning setup, which I really loved about the regular Liren 4 as well, but the V2 is a little bit different. But as far as like the overall tech and how it's kind of implemented, it is pretty similar besides the strobel board, right? So here on the lateral side, we can see all this cage, right? Same thing here in Liren 4. And then coming here into the heel, it is cage as well, but the kind of cage is very similar. It reminds me a lot of the Wild 10 as well. It's just a thin plastic, which isn't super stiff. But then also on the medial side, you can see it's pretty much the exact same. They're using full length boom, right? And it is exposed. I mean, I guess the cage is a little bit different, which we'll go over later. But as far as the actual like insole, the insole is okay, you know, it's a pretty thin insole, but it kind of feels like elastic, you know what I mean? And then here in the regular Liren 4, we have pretty much the same exact insole, right? Like the material is pretty similar. But then if you look at the regular Liren 4, we have this kind of like foam material over the actual boom. Like, so that strobel board material is like this foam, which does feel pretty dang nice, which allows this shoe, the regular Liren 4, to be extremely bouncy, right? This was one of the bounciest cushioning setups that I felt that doesn't use zoom, right? But then if you look at the V2, like the low cut version, we have a soft mesh strobe board. You don't have that like foam strobe board. And just like walking around, kind of jogging around inside my apartment with the V2s, and also obviously I did have the Liren 4 and the V2 on at the same time, so the regular version definitely felt a lot bouncier. You know what I mean? The V2, the low cut version, it just feels a little bit more soft. I mean, there definitely is a little bit of bounce. You know what I mean? And it's really nice for step and comfort, but it doesn't feel as bouncy as the regular Liren 4. So that definitely is a little bit of a bummer. You know what I mean? I don't know why they changed that up, but you know, still, it's really nice. Like, it's full length boom. You have a soft mesh strobe board. And also another thing that I like about this setup is that the Pro Bar lock, or the kind of like plate, is bottom loaded. You know what I mean? Usually, like if you look at like the AC12, you can see the midfoot plate. You know, it's like top loaded. So it's like your foot, and then the plate, and then the cushion. You know, with the soft mesh strobe board, which you can feel like the plastic in the midfoot is kind of stiff, but with this setup, with the plate being bottom loaded, you can feel the foam underneath your foot in the heel, midfoot, and forefoot, which is pretty dang nice. So yeah, the cushioning setup is still really nice here in the V2s, just less bouncy than the regular Liren 4. And now moving on to the upper. So the upper also is a little bit different, you know, so we have this it's like a textile material, right? You can see these kind of strands. It definitely does remind me of leno weave a little bit, right? It looks pretty open as well, but it's just an extremely thin material. Look at this, super duper thin, but also does feel pretty supportive. And we do have some fuse around the toe box as well for better support and durability. But yeah, here in the toe box, super duper thin. Here in the regular Liren 4, however, it does feel like a different material. You know what I mean? It does feel like it's just as supportive and thin, but like it feels like it has a little bit more give to it. You know what I mean? Like a little bit more forgiveness, you know, especially for the fit, which we'll get into. But anyways, the quality of the material is pretty dang nice. I would say the V2 is a little bit better because it does feel like it's more tightly woven. You know, in the regular, it's more see-through, you know what I mean? But yeah, it stays extremely thin here in the midfoot as well. Like, look at that. And then for the tongue, we have a pretty minimal, like, synthetic material. It's pretty thin, but then like on top of the toe box, like right here, it does have a little bit of padding, just a tiny bit. And then underneath that, we do have like this extremely thin synthetic material with some holes for ventilation. And then it's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. But looking inside of the shoe, you can see just how thin this material is. But it's also like around the eyelets, it does seem to have obviously some like underlying material that they glued onto it, right? And then here in the ankle area, we do have like an average amount of padding as well, and it seems to have extra padding here in the Achilles, however, right? So that does feel pretty nice, but the overall material is extremely thin, also very minimal. Conforms to your foot very well and does feel overall supportive. So I do like that, and the quality is also pretty dang nice. It doesn't feel super cheap. Now moving on to the fit. So I went true to size, and this shoe fits me extremely snug, and it's a very similar fit to the regular Liren 4, right? So here in the toe box, super snug. You know, like I can't really bend my toes that much, right? Also lengthwise, it goes right to the edge of the shoe, and then widthwise, I would say it is slightly narrow. So if you don't like a super snug fit, don't go true to size. I would suggest going up half a size. It'll be a little bit more relaxed, but because it is a pretty snug fit going true to size, I feel like it'll still be a pretty snug going up half a size, right? And if you have a very wide foot or you want a really roomy fit, probably go up a full size, right? But for me, it's a really nice and perfect fit going true to size. And now moving on to the support and lockdown, I had zero issues with the regular Liren 4, right? And I don't think I'm gonna have any issues with the V2, right? So for lateral containment, we can see the plastic coming up, acting as a sidewall. Here in the forefoot, we got 2 teeth coming up, right? Look at that. And then here in the midfoot, we got a little bit of the cage coming up as well. Like this plastic cages the cushion and also acts as a sidewall. And then here in the heel, we have this part coming up acting as a sidewall, but we also have this line, right? With this kind of like stiffer kind of plastic, kind of goes around the entire heel to cage the heel, obviously for an external TPO heel counter. But yeah, lateral containment is probably gonna be very good. And also lateral stability, look at that. You can see how much it protrudes out here in the forefoot. You can see how wide the base is here in the forefoot as well. So lateral stability would probably be very good. And now moving on to the weight of the shoe. I feel like, this shoe feels extremely lightweight. I'm guessing like 11 ounces. No, 10.55 ounces. We have a new lightest basket. Okay, so the weight flash is 10.5 ounces. So I guess it's a little bit heavier, 0.05 ounces heavier, but that's pretty much like top 3, I would say, you know. So we had the Wade Flash, we had the Addy Zero Select 2.0, but that shoe's kind of trash, so don't get that. But the Wade Flash and the Liren 4 V2 is like the lightest hoop shoe that you can get right now. Okay, so wait, what the? This shoe is 10.9. So the right shoe is 10.9 ounces and the left shoe is 10.5? 10.55? Okay, so average it out to like 10.7, I guess, around there, 10.7 ounces. But the regular Liren 4 is 12.55 ounces, which is still like just average weight, you know what I mean? But yeah, the V2 feels extremely minimal and really, really lightweight on foot, which I do like. And with the cushioning setup, you know, hopefully it's, you know, still bouncy. We'll have to see once I break it in. And also hopefully the traction does get better. You know, right now it's not feeling amazing, but we'll have to see on like how it breaks in and stuff like that. But yeah, it feels really, really nice on foot. And now moving on to the aesthetics, I love it. You know, this is the introverted artist colorway, and this is supposedly inspired by Picasso, I think, you know, with like his artwork. So yeah, this is a really nice color, but I love the actual design of the shoe as well. And I do like this plastic, you know, with this kind of gradient right here. The Li-ning logo right here, you know. The regular Liren 4 also does look amazing, but I don't know, I feel like low cuts just look a little bit better to me, right? So tell us what you guys think of these settings down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yeah, the Li-ning Liren 4 V2 is feeling amazing so far. I love everything about the shoe besides the traction right now. So if the traction is not good, obviously I'm not gonna like it too much, but we'll have to see on how it breaks in. But you know, the regular Liren 4 was really, really nice, you know what I mean? I just picked up a little bit of dust. So anyways, that about concludes my first impressions look on the Liren 4 V2. Again, if you guys do want to call up, try to leave a link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.